two things that I talked about in the beginning, and it's this releasing the judgment and this full self-assessment. And this is really where you get to relinquish this fear of failure and step forward with courage. Welcome to the Rylee June Show. I'm your host, Rylee June, international intuition coach and spiritual activator. This podcast is designed for the souls who are ready to dive into what spirituality, consciousness, and healing truly is like. Here you will find the conversations and insight most spiritual teachers aren't willing to have. Why? Because we pull back the curtain on what truly takes place as you move through your healing journey, the duality of the light and the dark, and the role ethics and integrity undeniably play in your ascension experience. I have had the pleasure of working with tens of thousands of people, from clients, stories shared through messenger chats, and others in the industry to know exactly what this journey will look like for you. These episodes will share conversations of industry leaders bridging the gap to the new paradigm of reality, and individuals sharing their heart through their soul's journey they've been through and what they've learned along the way. So if you're ready to go deep, unlock truth, and activate into the blueprint of you, this is going to be a space you're not going to want to miss out every Monday. Are you ready? Let's activate. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to a new session. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to the revamped experience with the Rylee June Show podcast. I'm really excited to tune in this new energy, in this evolved space, because something that I'm constantly coming to learn and realize is that, and equally in alignment with today's episode, which is fear of failure, step forward with courage, that everything we do in life is truly about adjusting and adapting. And if you're someone who has a deep-seated fear of failure, you want to take all the steps forward, you want to join the programs, you want to go for the quantum leap, you want to leave the person, reach out to the person, whatever it is, change the job, ask for the raise, whatever that thing is, but you fear the no, you fear the disappointment, either within yourself or equally with disappointment from others as well, that this is a place where we get to really learn about self-assessment and relinquishing judgment. And these two really go hand in hand. In the Destiny Moment program, the 8-week coaching program that begins on April 3rd, that is for the woman who is on a spiritual and personal development journey, looking to really move forward in her life. You've gone through the healing, you have spent the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years working through all the things, the darkness, the energy, the emotions, the past, alone, or even with others, but you're not really seeing much results. Some things have shifted. You've realized you have some courage and bravery, but overall, not a lot has really changed. You feel like you're still in the same repetitive loops. You feel like you still deal with the same circumstances and situations. The Destiny Moment program is all about reclaiming your power. And in this 8-week program, today we're going to dive into the first acronym of the first week, which is free. So in this case, free, the F stands for full self-assessment. When we are in the first week of this program and we are learning how to reclaim our power through our identity, free becomes this concept that really allows you to be able to set the standard for yourself moving forward from a place of empowerment. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the full self-assessment and what that could look like for you. And of course, I'm going to give you the tips and tools as well. And if you want to go deeper into this, then the Destiny Moment program is where you're going to want to do it. I'm in this space where there's a lot of things shifting and changing. I have a couple fun, exciting things that I want to share before we really dig into this episode. So I was invited to be a part of a spiritual series network, which is going to be similar to Gaia, except for there's going to be a little bit more of an emphasis on coaching, so teachings and trainings, versus just docu-series on spirituality. And though there will be some people who do more docu-series experiences, I'm going to be on there doing teachings and trainings, and actually a lot of what ends up on that will be surrounding the concepts that are going to be taught live in the Destiny Moment program. Another thing that I'm going to be doing moving forward is I'm only going to have 2 live programs that I teach every year. The rest of the year, I'm going to be either adding to previously recorded programs that I have already done and launched, and just improving them along the way as I grow, adding in the things that really get to just enhance the experience. Because as a mom of 4, I'm continuously coming to find that in this space to continue to serve from always having to show up live, that I'm actually resisting it most. And so instead of just resisting it, I'm asking myself why. Where is this resistance coming from? And it really truly is in this place to build this empire where I get to radically continue to support and help women transform their lives, and men. I have men in several of my programs as well. My main emphasis, however, is on women, but be able to support you from this place of knowing that I don't always have to be at everyone's beck and call. So if you're a recovering people pleaser, you will really understand this. And this is where the full self-assessment really comes into play, because as I sat back in the beginning of February and I really looked over everything that I was creating, the vision that I was cultivating, the space that I was wanting to grow and blossom in, I continued to find myself in this space of resistance where I was like, well, if I just do what I was doing before. How many of you have had this conversation with yourself before? You're like, okay, I want to lose that weight. So if I just do what I did before, then this is all going to work out. Then I know that I can do it because I have the evidence. I did it once before, I can do it again. But what you cease to realize is that when you evolve and when you heal, the things that worked for you before aren't necessarily going to work for you again. In today's morning meditation, I talked about how you have to understand that when you go out into the world as this newly profound healed person, or even with a variance in your perspective of how you carry and live out your life, you're meeting people almost simultaneously for the first time, because the conversations you want to have are different. The things that you perceive are different. The ways that you are and do things, they are different. And so that means that you are different, and those people get to meet you in an entirely new light. And this is something that really I find gets lost a lot in spiritual communities and teachings, because this is truly why people struggle so much with understanding the dynamic of relationships, both with their friends, their family, their spouses, all the people, right? Is because they're meeting them as if they are still that same old person, and thinking that these people have to be comfortable with who they were, yet struggling to create connections and relationships that are defined based on who you are now. And where I really sat with this vision is that I'm so tired of constantly coming across spiritual teachers and healers pages and all the things, and it's like, I'm going to give you one thing and, come into my program for the rest of the other half of that thing. I want to just serve. My goal is to just serve. When we changed up the podcast at the beginning of the year, it was in service. You are here to bring your notebook, to take notes, and there's already been some really powerful golden nuggets that have dropped for you already that I highly encourage you that if you missed them, especially on that component of meeting people as your new self every time you meet them, to really go back and write that down and reflect on that, because as you continue to learn how to set yourself free through a new identity of who you are now, the power of you right now, the destiny you are cultivating from this moment right now, this is where you really start to understand and define who you are and what your life looks like moving forward. And I don't agree with the concept all the time with burn the bridges. It's often talked about in personal and spiritual development where if your, top 3 people in your life, you do that self-assessment and, you have like 5 to 10 people in your life and, 4 or 5 of them don't align, but, 3 or 4 or 5 of them do, that the rest of them, you got to burn the bridge. And I actually really disagree with that. Unless relationships are toxic, it's more so in the understanding that you have to become comfortable with meeting people as a new version of you. And if you're someone who even does 1 training a week, or you do meditations every day, or, there's something that you're working on every week consciously for yourself, that next week when you go and meet that same person, you are a different person. Something is healed, shifted, changed, evolved within you. And so your conversations in your relationship is going to be slightly different. Maybe not entirely as a whole, but if you keep doing that for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, months long, you are going to be a completely different person. And this is where I feel like a lot of people really get conflicted in terms of, oh, well, these people aren't serving me right now, so I have to let them go. And you actually don't. It's more so in just being able to better communicate and articulate and express who you are as you meet new people, right? When you sit down in the first parts of the conversation, is, so tell me what's new in your life. And you're like, oh, not really anything. That's not true. There's actually a lot of new in your life. And it's so learning how to operate from that space. And that's why the Destiny Moment program was born, because we tend to diminish our light the second we come into contact with people who don't necessarily get us or aren't doing the same things, but we love and we cherish them for who they are. We diminish and we dim our own light. And so this is about learning to stand in your power and claiming who you are at every step of the way. Because who you are today and who you are next year and the year following and 5 years and 10 years from now is going to be an entirely different person. And if the people in your life aren't choosing to evolve for themselves, that's okay. They don't have to go on the rocket ship in the direction that you're going, but they can still be in your life. And you'll know when the conversations and the relationships aren't really for you anymore. And that's where you really just get to honor your truth and say, you know what, at this point where I'm at, I just don't feel like I get to spend more time here. And maybe in the future you do, or you revisit that, and that's okay. But it doesn't have to be this big condemnation of like, oh, you're not there, so see you later. And that really drives me absolutely insane, because it's like, so many times in my life, I've pushed relationships away because they weren't where I wanted them to be. And I don't agree with that, because it's not about me judging where someone else is. It's about me having compassion for where someone else is. And who's to say you now showing up in the true, full, authentic version of you isn't going to inspire them to improve themselves? But if you constantly show up with these same people and you're like, oh, not really much, same old, paying the bills, living the life, doing the things, right? Being the mom, cooking the dinner, complaining about laundry. If you keep meeting them there, they never have the opportunity to be exposed to someone with a greater perspective or someone who's expanding their mind. You are the catalyst in other people's transformational journeys. And so I want to just tie this up and circle this back to 2 things that I talked about in the beginning. And it's this releasing the judgment and this full self-assessment. And this is really where you get to relinquish this fear of failure and step forward with courage. Okay, so let's go first into judgment. I was doing a meditation this morning, and it became very clear and aware to me. The download came in so obviously that in a lot of people where they fear failure, it's because they fear letting someone else down, letting themselves down, worried about the judgment of what others will place on themselves, if it doesn't quite go the way that they want it to, or the judgment that they place on themselves if it doesn't go the way they want it to. However, not even having taken a step yet. And so in this place of just like true dire constriction surrounding judgment, both for yourself, upon yourself, and on others as well. Oh, this person's probably going to judge me because they have in the past. Or, oh, I just don't want to hear this person say this anymore, when they haven't even said it, right? You walk with this looming cloud of judgment over you. And what happens is judgment attracts more judgment. Like attracts like. So if you're constantly walking around in your life judging yourself for not having the laundry done, or not having this done, or not having that done, or not being further along in your world, the likeliness that you're going to walk out that door and then judge other people for that same thing, or something they say, or the way that they eat, or the way that they're not doing things, or the way that they're doing things, is very, very likely. And what's going to happen is you're going to continue to perpetuate that level of fear because you're not either aware or willing, honestly willing, to relinquish that judgment within you. God says that we do not judge our brothers and sisters. He will have his day with us at the end of our life. And whether you believe in God or not, the whole point of spiritual growth and development is that you grow higher, you ascend higher in your thinking, in your energy, in your way of being. Eventually, you're going to have to come to terms with the question, who created the universe? So I'm going to leave that with you. But it is not our responsibility to judge other people. And if we are at the very least judging ourselves, we are definitely judging others because like attracts like. And I'm not saying this in a place where this is meant to be out of a place of perfectness. I'm not perfect. I judge myself and I judge others too. So much less than I used to, especially the more and more that I come into building this relationship with Jesus and with God. It's like my eyes just opened up to understanding that I don't have to judge Susan for the way that she's not doing the things. I don't even have to judge myself for where I think I should be, but I'm not. Now, you can critique. That is different. Critiquing is different than judgment. If I critique myself and say that I want to improve this and I'm not, and I go and then take the actions, right? I'm honest with myself. I critique where I can improve and then I take the actions. Well, that's different. And same to others. If I critique the way someone's doing something, but I communicate with them versus going behind their back and telling someone else, or even just like having the conversation with my spouse or in my head, right? If I critique them out loud, I express with my voice, then it's up to us to hash out that conversation and whatever that's supposed to look like, or for them to take that and do what they will with it. But it is not my responsibility to judge what they do with that information, right? So as long as I'm open and honest, but I'm equally willing to take action in the place where I was once not, this is critiquing. This is not judgment. There is a big difference. It's when you do it in silence, behind people's backs, behind your own back, in your own mind, and you're up all night laying in bed and you're like, I should have done all these 17 things. Or I keep saying I'm going to do yoga, but I never do yoga. I keep saying I'm going to go for runs. I never do runs. I keep saying I'm going to eat better. I never eat better. I keep saying that I'm going to put myself out there, but I never put myself, whatever that thing is. It's in those moments where you continue to judge yourself, but you do not do it through critiquing, taking action, applying action. That's where we really get to build a better relationship with ourselves in forgiveness and God. And how judgment ties into the fear of failure and self-assessment is that as you're learning to reclaim your power and embodying the identity of who you are right now, today, this very minute that you listen to this is the only time that exists. So in week 2 of the Destiny Moment program, we go back to free yourself of the emotional imprints in the blueprint of your soul, right? So when you go through healing, you learn to go through your past and rewrite the stories. We're not going to go and relive the past. Okay, only to a very, very surface level degree, because whether you've been deep in it for a long time or you're just starting out, I'm going to teach you how to do this from a place of just accessing your blueprint and elevating and rising and releasing the emotions so that the emotional imprint is no longer there and inserting the story becomes so much more effortless, because right now is what exists. And if you are a highly anxious person or deal with anxiety often, it's because you're either living in the past or you're living in the future and you're disconnected from now. And changing your life requires you to be present right now. And so as we do these self-assessments, it's about radical honesty of where judgment exists in your life. When it comes to your health, what does that experience look like for you? Are you critiquing it or are you constantly judging yourself for it? If it's your relationships, are you critiquing and improving and honestly communicating what your needs are? Because that's typically what causes issues in relationships, is not actually expressing our needs, which we're going to dig into in the program. And with your career, are you where you want to be? And if not, what is that going to look like for you to move forward? right? Because we don't move forward with confidence. We move forward with courage. I'm going to say that again, and if you have a pen, write it down. You don't move forward with confidence. You move forward with courage. And that's another thing that I'm really here to rewrite in this industry, because everyone thinks that what they want is confidence, which is inevitably the outcome of the courageous actions that you take to get there. And when it comes to your money circumstances, right? What does that look like? Are you constantly judging yourself for your money? Because if you are, well, you're not going to be a vibrational match for more, because you're constantly focused on what you don't have from the past, right? Your experiences from the past. It's like, oh, I'm still here getting these same bills, unexpected things, overwhelmed, But what are you where and how are you allowing yourself to really work from a place of forgiveness instead? When it comes to you, self-assessing yourself honestly, what does that look like? Do you constantly go in your closet and say, oh, I'm too fat, or I don't fit this, or this isn't good enough for me anymore, I don't like anything that I wear? What is the lens that you are looking through? What is the lens that you are looking through towards yourself in your life? And it's in this presence that you can rewrite the experience you're having now. Healing doesn't have to be hard. Constantly as I go through this journey, even the ones with deep emotional traumas, it might take a little bit longer to purge the emotional imprint of those experiences. Yes, absolutely. But our minds are so powerful that we really just discredit that it can be so much more effortless than it's been made out to be. And a part of this feeling like healing is hard comes from the negative side of the industry, where if, as a healer, you perpetuate this idea that your clients need you long term, then you're going to get paid longer. And I just wildly disagree with that, because I just want everybody to know all the things so they can live their life free, in their power, in abundance, in wealth, in prosperity. We did not come here to suffer, my friends. We did not. And there is such an easier way to do this. So I want to leave you with that today. Take the time to do a full self-assessment on your life. Honestly, where are you at? And where does judgment exist in your life? Because your fear of failure is rooted in lack of honesty and a perpetuating amount of judgment that you are placing on you and others as well. So get real honest with yourself and take a big look in the mirror, and then assess those steps. Critique and assess those steps that you get to take one day at a time to get you to where you want to be. It starts with your habits. In order to reshape your reality, you got to start with your habits. And that's why routine is something that's wildly taught in the very beginning of any type of healing journey, because it's your habits that truly formulate your experience that you live out, right? If it is your habit to constantly to judge yourself or to judge others, that's going to continue to perpetuate that same experience, right? You're going to fear, the judgment of others more than you want to or wish that you didn't. So I'm going to leave you with this, because this is a really powerful concept. And if you haven't taken notes, I highly recommend you come back to this. I would love to hear your takeaways. So feel free to screenshot and tag me on Instagram at Rylee June. And let me know what you thought of this episode, because this is a concept we're going to go so deeply within in the Destiny Moment program. And I am just so lit up and passionate about teaching this program, at least for now, live. This program is going to be taught live until baby is born. It's going to extend a little bit as I just continue to add in more hypnosis techniques, which is something that we get into more in week 4 and 5. The curriculum is going to be in the link in the show notes. So you can go and check it out. But starting next year, this is going to be a program that is taught not live. So it will be a pre-recorded program. So I'm really excited about this evolution and the clarity of just where I'm going and how I get to serve you all. This podcast obviously is going to be a huge resource for you on all things spiritual development and energy, self-healing. And as we go throughout these next couple weeks, We have we have 2 more episodes to this series that we're going to be doing. I believe next week is going to be the unheard episode. So if you feel like you are unheard, and then the week after is if you feel like you are unloved. So that's what we're going to dig into. And then I have some really incredible guests coming in April and May to share with you as we pull the curtains back and reveal the truths and secrets in the spiritual and healing industry. So this podcast is taking a spicy turn, and I am so excited about it because I'm someone who likes to call out bullshit, which actually makes my healing journey a lot easier. Sometimes I'm a little resistant to it, let's be honest, as we all are. But I have always been someone who just can't sit back and let people be taken advantage of, or just like say things when I see it and it's just like not how it's supposed to be. And so that's where, like, as soon as I had this clarity around where this podcast was going, I was like, yes, because there's so much that we get to truly just expose in this space. And that more than any of the exposure stuff, it's supporting you in not getting taken advantage and truly being able to radically change and heal your life. And that just doesn't have to be a complicated thing anymore. It really doesn't. Like, yes, the emotions are deep. And yes, it is so challenging sometimes to feel your way through them. In order to heal, you have to feel. But the stories that go along with that, they just don't have to be the way that they were. And it really is in this rooting of judgment that we continue to perpetuate this idea that it is hard. And I am here to tell you that there is a much easier way out and through. And that's what I'm here to help you with. So if you love this episode, let me know. Let me know your biggest takeaway, the golden nugget that showed up for you. And I so look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a beautiful day, friends. Before you go, I would love and appreciate so much if you could take a moment of your time to leave a 5-star review. It helps me to be able to get this message out to so many more in the world. And I am so truly thankful that you choose this place to be every single week. Until next time, don't forget to find the magic in today.